Are you going to go into a deal with National?
Well, we're meeting today. They certainly have rung us to talk to us. We're meeting today. We'll also go back to our electorates as we did last time, talk to them to ask them what they think we should do.
What's your gut feeling?
My gut feeling is probably the same as what happened last time, that there's always concerns for our people with a national government. But I think that what they will want is somebody at the table to basically ameliorate those issues that National have on the table now.
Dr. Sharples, do you have that same gut feeling?
Definitely, and I think I agree with a lot of the points the panel made. If we do have an ongoing relationship with national government, we have to handle that better. We have to take our people with us, and that'll be a priority if we take that road.
Hone Harawira, you've been quite vocal during the campaign and since you left the party about the Māori Party having a relationship with National. Yep. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the Māori Party has to make whatever decision they think is appropriate for them. I do think, though, that two things. One, our people still want us to be more to the left than they are to the right. That's pretty clear in any poll that gets run. And secondly, I do think that the issues which are affecting the majority of our people, basic poverty, lack of employment, bad housing, are not the issues that National gives us stuff about. And so, regardless of that relationship happening, I don't think those things will be resolved by that relationship continuing.
See, it's that type of kōrero, I suppose, Tariana Tudia, that you have to combat, if you like, or counteract. And that makes your job so much harder, doesn't it?
Well, it does, but let me say this, that we're talking about 170 years of these issues. They haven't happened in the last 3 years. And what our job is to be the most powerful advocates that we can be at that table and do the very best that we can. I think in many cases we've done incredibly well despite people being so critical of us. I think we've done quite well. But in the end, unless you're able to see a bigger investment from the government in alleviating the poverty that our people are in, there's no doubt that our people will walk and vote accordingly.
Obviously, too, we have 3 Labour Māori MPs with us too. Big issue with the Labour Party, obviously, is whether or not your leader is going to stick around and who potentially is going to replace him. Parekura, let's begin with you on that point as the senior Māori Labour MP, if you like. Do you have any thoughts around whether or not Phil Goff will stick around?
I think we'll discuss that on Tuesday, Shane, and certainly there's some views about the need for stability going through to February, and there are budding aspirants who want to look at the job, and that's something we will discuss.
Can I put the same question to you? Your gut feeling, though, around the leadership issue, what is it? Well,
my gut feeling, Willie, is that my gut feeling, Willie, is that some people people are calling for it, Shane, about the leadership thing. But I've been in caucus long enough to understand that you've got to be pragmatic to make the decisions there.
So what does that mean? Break it down for us.
Well, it means quite simply that we'll find out on Tuesday, Shane.
You are a typical politician. Nanaia, can you shed any light on your position? Because we saw you last night live on TV. You were there listening to Phil Goff when he made his speech. You had tears in your eyes. I'm not sure if that was a reflection of what he was saying or how the party did or what the story was. Can you talk to us about that?
Oh, look, I'm absolutely saddened by the fact that we haven't managed to pull Kelvin Davis across the line, a very good and high-performing member for Te Tai Tokerau, so he will be a loss to our caucus. But so too will Carmel Sepuloni out in Waitakere, who fought a strong campaign on the bread and butter issues, the issues that really affect a lot of modest and low-income families, so I'm sad to lose them in our team. And let's be really clear, the real take-home message from last night's election are twofold. Firstly, a divided Māori vote in the Māori electorates is no good to anybody. We're fodder. So what we need to do is ensure that the Māori vote at the next election is more united on the big picture, which is, if you want a change from National, focus on that big picture, because only Labour can deliver an alternative. The second take-home message, I think, is one of where rejuvenation really sits for all the political parties, and it is in the 40-year age group and down. Now, the non-voter turnout concerns me because I know the game changer in the Māori electorates is if that young vote turned out in force and voted, critical changes could have happened in every electorate. So I think people need to look to that. I'm not interested in the fight between the Mana and the Māori Party. Māori Party will do what it thinks it can do, but what I know, National will use the iwi leaders forum to counterbalance where the Māori Party may think they may sit in terms of their deals with the government.
Can we just all pick up a point that Nanaya's made just about how divided, if you like, the Māori vote is? Is that a good thing, or is that not such a good thing, Tariana?
Well, it's not a good thing, but it's not surprising. I mean, if you look at all of the many things that divide us as a people today, and, you know, you could talk about religion, you could talk a whole heap of things of where we're quite divided as a people. It's not unusual. But I think that the important thing that our people should be looking to is what unites them. It's always easy to focus on division and to create division with the things that we say as politicians, but in the end, the strongest thing that we should be doing today is working out a strategy of how do we unite our people, and more particularly right there at the whānau level. That's where we need the unity so that we can take care of our own ourselves.
Te Riro Flavel, because you've been sitting there silent, you've been nodding on a few points there, here and there. Tell us about your thoughts, because now you've gone from a caucus back in 2008 of 5, you're now at 3. You're the whip of the party. How does that leave the party in your position?
I'll start by whipping myself, I suppose, in the first instance, but I think that we're going to have a bit of time out to talk about our strategy from here on. That's important. We also know that it changes the dynamic in Parliament, so for all intents and purposes we're a tight team of 3 that have to take up the responsibilities on behalf of the party. I think that we've got a responsibility to rebuild and take us into the next election a lot stronger than we are now, knowing full well that the two Pakeke here are at a time when they want to think about other things. So we know we've got.
I'm actually glad you raised that, because I do want to know, because Tariana's already announced that she won't be standing at the next election. Possibly Peter Sharples, you'll be doing the same. Can we just confirm? Are you standing at the next election?
They hope it's not to stand again.
So probably not?
Yeah, I'd like to bring some of our youth through.
So where does that leave you, Te Riro Flavel, as the only sort of current MP? Will you be standing next time?
I've got to give some consideration to that in light of our team meeting. We've got 3 years, for goodness sake. It's a long period of time, and it's got to be in the bigger picture of what's important for the Māori Party. We're on the political landscape, and we all made a commitment when we first started that we want to remain on the political landscape for a long period of time. So this kaupapa isn't just about me, it's about our party and about our kaupapa.
Are you looking, do you have political leadership ambitions, I suppose the question is?
Not as if there's too much choices outside of these two, but at the moment, we've got a lot of work to do. That's the focus right here and now. It's too early to start talking about that. We've got 3 years, as I say, and the view will be we're going to sit down, have a kōrero and have ongoing kōrero as Parliament rolls out. We've got a lot of work to do, and that's all I'll say at the moment.
Rino Tirikatene, thank you for sitting there and waiting patiently as the new kid on the block, I suppose.
Yes.
How are you feeling about going into a party that has lost a lot of support? There are obviously issues around the leadership there too. How are you feeling about those things?
Oh, I'm excited. We've drawn a line in the sand now, so we can only move forward. I represent that new generation in my 30s, rejuvenating Labour. We've got a great team, and I'm looking forward to make my contribution. And I just thank all of the whānau that gave me their tautoko. Because
obviously, as Nanaya said, Labour has lost one of the up-and-coming rising stars, if you like, Kelvin, but you're now in there. How does that leave you?
Well, I've got my wonderful support here with my colleagues, and I'm looking forward to getting into the caucus. It's very disappointing about Kelvin, obviously, but we've got the next election to work towards, and that's what my focus is. It's really just growing Labour support, reconnecting out there, because there's huge opportunities for us to do very well next time.
Parekura, talking more about Labour and its new blood, because the Māori Party, they've already alluded to that they're looking at bringing in new blood, fresh young blood. What about the Labour Party?
Oh, we've got a lot of young ones very interested at the moment, Shane. Some of us had to ensure that we have a clear succession plan, and we're doing that. We've got a lot of young people coming through, and we have to bring them up. And to reiterate what Nanaya said is where we're at. You've got to know when to move on. I think one thing that's really important, Shane, for us as Māori members, no matter what party we're in, we've got to learn how to Congress better. And we do it outside of our political parties. We get stewed up against each other. We get quite violent to each other. But, time has come for our people. Time has come for us to Congress.
With respect, can I just say, because you've been in there, 12 12 years
Yeah,
now.
that's right.
Isn't it a bit rich to be saying that now on your way
no,
out?
No, I don't think so, Shane,
No?
because unemployment has trebled, the wages have gone down, the living costs have gone up, and we, you know, every kid who's leaving school this year will go nowhere. They won't get a job. They won't get on the benefit, and you know, so there's not the freedom. Time is right now. We need to Congress. We've heard the Maori and the Mana Party. How we do that is something. You know? They Congress with the National Party. We Congress with the Greenies. Hone Congress is with himself. We as Māori members have to Congress amongst ourselves.
Would you be in support of that, Hone Harawira Tāria?
We do it outside of the political parties.
Okay,
we
so
have a cup of tea, we have a kai, we talk about rugby and netball. We got to do that about what's good for our people.
But I suppose the reality is if it was that, you know, smooth sailing, you'd all be part of one party, but you're not.
Yeah,
We've got three
and
parties
that's
around this table, haven't we? And that's why you left your party, Hone Harawira.
Yeah, I've got to say, even when I'm congressing with myself, I still have trouble winning the argument. but still, you know, if there's a critical issue, Tari's alluded to it, Nanaya's mentioned it, I've mentioned it. It is poverty, and in particular child poverty. And maybe this might be the opportunity for us to publicly declare that that's one issue that we might congress on, and work to get traction on, regardless of the relationship that the Māori Party might seek with National, or that Parekura might seek with Lanai or whatever. Because I think that if we can send that kind of a signal that there are some basic things that we can work on together, it might open the doors for other relationships in the future.
Is this an olive branch? Is this Hone Harawira extending the olive branch to his Māori Party colleagues?
For the third time, absolutely it is. On this issue, particularly on child poverty, I really don't think there's any argument about the need to deal with it right now.
Are there issues, Tariana Turia, Dr Sharples, that you can work with these other two parties with?
Well, you know, I've always kind of believed that if the Māori members of Parliament were able to work across parties, that we would be a lot stronger and actually able to represent the interests of our people. But the truth of it is, the two major parties don't really allow that to happen because you have to follow their party line. And if that party line doesn't fit with the cross-party discussion, it will not happen. And I think that's sad, because when I was in Labour, we called together a cross-party discussion on family violence, and one of the parties at that time, who had a number of Māori members, did not want them to come to that meeting. Now that was sad, because it's still a really significant issue for us.
Can we move on to another significant issue? And let's go right around the table. Tariana, let's start with you. Around asset sales. Obviously, it's still on the table. It was a big campaign policy for National, and they still want to go ahead with it. Where does the Māori Party sit?
Oh, we've been very, very clear. We're opposed to the asset sales because those assets belong to New Zealand now. If National goes ahead with those asset sales, then we want to have an assurance that iwi will have the opportunity, as they have asked us to ensure that they have a chance to buy into those assets, because they believe that they are the ones who can hold those assets here.
Should they be offered preferential treatment, in your opinion?
I have never ever used those words myself. I think that they certainly should be offered the opportunity if we want to keep those assets in New Zealand.
Let's skip, I just want to skip you two and go straight to Nanaya. Obviously, Labour campaign, you know, fiercely against this policy. Where do you guys sit?
Well, if you look at the Labour vote and all the Māori electorates, it was a strong vote, and no sale of state assets was one of our core platform policies, so absolutely not. On the issue of whether or not Māori may or may not be given preferential treatment, I think that's a red herring. No iwi has gone to their tribal members and put down asset sales in terms of seeking a tribal mandate.
Including your own?
Including my own.
Because the chair of your tribe has said
absolutely.
That they do have a preference to buy, you know, to take a part.
They may, but I've made it really clear, and it's from looking at the landscape, no iwi by themselves will have the capacity to buy shareholding interests of any of the four state-owned assets, or even as a collaborative economic entity. They would still have to bring in a third party. So let's just call a spade, no to asset sales, keep it there so that the revenue coming off state-owned assets can be put back into the coffers, but more importantly, into the priorities that deliver for Māori.
Waikato Tainui, if the membership agreed to take a share, would you support that?
Well, the proof of the pudding will be in the eating. That mandate has not been gone back to the tribe, and I'd say that there are a number of other priorities, economic priorities out there that Tainui would have to convince its own people of. So that would be a matter for tribal members to decide.
Hone Harawira, asset sales, you're opposed?
Mana's opposed, and I think most Maori are opposed, and the whole thing about iwi getting preferential treatment, once it's privatised, which means that if Ngāti Porou or Ngāpuhi or Tainui buys it today, because it's a private asset, tomorrow we can flog it off to the Chinese or the Japanese or to anybody else. So we're opposed absolutely to assets which have been built up by
even iwi interest?
Built up by generations of New Zealanders, and about once lost, lost forever. And all of the benefits are gone forever. So
what about iwi, though? Those, because there are a couple of iwi at least who have indicated their interest
exactly the point I was trying to make earlier, though, is that once it's purchased by an iwi as a private asset, it is then available to go onto the market.
So you're opposed to that?
Absolutely. Absolutely opposed to the sale of state assets built up by generations of New Zealanders. They are there to benefit all New Zealanders, including Māori, and the experience of the sale of state assets in the past shows that prices actually go up. They don't go down as a result of those assets being sold on to others, because those other entities who buy them have no other interest but the profit margins for their shareholders. They care nothing about us as citizens of this country.
Let's look ahead, Dr. Sharples, and in 3 years' time, how will we be able to measure your success over the next 3 years?
I think you can measure the Māori Party's success by the way in which we've worked with the other parties, and also in terms of whether we've been able to...
But from here on in, from here on in. We're talking about a new term now.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And particularly if we can effect some sort of transformation amongst our people.
Transformation, you're talking about what?
Well, I'm talking about our people taking control of their lives, like Whānau Ora is intended to do, to help them stand up on their own feet, to cut the apron strings, if you like, of reliability on the state, to take up arms against life on their own people's behalf.
Can we just raise Whānau Ora with you, Tariana Turia? Will you be seeking more money for that over the next 3 years?
Well, of course we will.
Do you think you're in a better position to actually be given it, though?
Well, I don't see why not. If the national government wants to work with the Māori Party, there are clear things that we want to make some gains in, and they will be on the table.
So Whānau Ora definitely?
Whānau Ora will definitely be on the table, because it is the biggest shift in thinking for the government and also for our own people.
Just quickly, are you having a cuppa with John Key anytime soon?
Well, I haven't.
Or is it with the people, with your supporters first and then John Key?
Yes, definitely.
Maybe just as a suggestion, don't invite any of the media to your meeting.
We don't usually.